We are born pre-formatted with a hierarchical operating system. So no matter what we think and say about believing in a higher power, God, whatever you want to call it, there's no getting away from it. So either you serve the throne or you serve a pretender. There's no opt-out of God. So I put this basic idea down as a post the other day, and a friend of mine who I respect a lot, but he's, I would say, agnostic. I think he likes to pretend that he is atheist. But again, there's no such thing, because if you're not serving the throne, you're serving a pretender. Everything is a matter of hierarchy, right? Like God, man, woman, child. And there's a reason for that order, just like there's a reason why the military has a hierarchy, or the government, or anybody. Because without hierarchy, it's just chaos. It's nonsense. You can't have organization without hierarchy. So what we're talking about here is, who are you choosing to listen to at the top? It's super simple. So when you have a pretender in that position, it's going to lead you astray, right? So if you're in the military and you're not listening to your guy, you're listening to somebody else's guy. It's not in their best interest to lead you in the right direction. It's in their best interest to lead you in their direction. If we're not going to the source of all things, we're going to the next best thing, in our opinion. Whether it's money, whether it's sex, we're putting that in the throne. And that's the pretender. And a lot of times we have a God that we can't even name. And we're not aware that that's what we're doing, because it's in the subconscious, right? The operating system that we're using is just placing something in that position, since we choose to not go to the source. And that's what we're following, a Pied Piper. So my friend, who believes he's an atheist, or at best an agnostic, left a witty comment saying non serviam, which is Latin for saying I do not serve. This is a very popular belief system, originally basically said by Lucifer, who refused to serve. And this is the belief system of a lot of contemporary academics and scientific type of minds. They believe that it's better to reign in hell than to serve in heaven. I mean, it sounds good, right? I'd rather be a ruler than a servant. But again, this is like cutting your nose off to spite your face. And I mean that literally, because it'd be like your finger saying, I will not serve the rest of the body. I'm going to do my own thing. How is that possible? It's all connected. So this is a fool's errand. You can't do that. And it doesn't make sense. And for the scientific types that don't like all this God talk, like my friend, who I respect, I humbly submit this scientific idea based on neurolinguistic programming, which is like hypnosis on crack, basically, that talks a lot about the way the brain is formatted and can be consciously formatted, which I highly recommend you do, because an unanalyzed life is not worth living. If you're just going along to get along and doing that kind of stuff, you're going to absolutely worship a pretender. So in NLP, there's a concept called act as if, and this is a very common, all the big influencers and gurus of motivation, they all talk about act as if. And the core of that concept is that it doesn't really matter if you believe it or not. Just act as if, and you eventually will become that thing that's useful. So what would Jesus do? You don't have to believe in Jesus, in Christ, to ask yourself, what would he do in this position for it to benefit you? Because doing the right thing, extrapolated over a lifetime, is always going to be the right thing to do. It's like a casino, right? The opposite. You're going to win. It doesn't matter if you believe or not. It matters if you believe it or not. I'm just saying it works whether you believe or you don't. It still works. And this is the act as if concept. Really quickly, before I go even further into this stuff, it's interesting that today, according to some Eastern Christian beliefs, Orthodox Christianity, it is Mother Mary's birthday today, September 8th. Did you know that? Trump did, and he posted it. It's very interesting that he did that, to me. It's also interesting that in the Church of Latter-day Saints, as well as the Cabal, it's believed that Christ's birthday is on September 11th. So if you were so inclined to undermine those two, you might do something terrible, inverted during this time, no? So it's always a time to pay attention. It's also interesting to note that it's believed, not unlike Christ, that Mary was basically an impossible conception. She was not an immaculate conception, but her mother was believed to be barren. And it is in one of the apocryphal works, an angel came and told her that she would bear a daughter that would be the mother of God. So we're dealing with a big chunk. Again, the Cabal absolutely believes this. Immaculate birth and an impossible birth. So that means that if you have one set of genes and another set of genes coming from both directions, that means that the whole person is arguably not even human, although they inhabit a human body. Just a theory that I wanted to touch on, I've been meaning to say for a long time. I might do a whole video on that one day. So we come pre-formatted. Marcus Aurelius says that we train the mind because our bodies will betray us. Life is fleeting. It's got a beginning and an end. Christ said, I am the Alpha, the beginning, and the Omega, the end. He was saying that he's eternal, whereas our beginning and end is bookended. So let's say the pretender to your throne is health. It'll serve you well, probably. You're going to eat really well, and you're going to exercise, and you're going to feel good, but your body will betray you. It's inevitable. You're going to live and die like the rest of us. So you train the mind, which is already pre-formatted, so that the body will obey it, even when it doesn't want to. And this is really important that we understand this because of what's going on nowadays. Bill Gates is working with Coca-Cola and Pepsi. They're putting nanoparticles and graphene oxide, putting those two things in our soft drinks, in our food, in our skies when they spray. What they're spraying in the sky goes in the soil, comes back up in the food. It's unavoidable. There's the first failure of your pretender if you're the health person. I eat organic and I take my vitamins and everything. It's not avoidable. Your pretender will fail you because you can't not have these. The shots that everyone took causes shedding. It's everywhere. You can't not breathe it in. It's in your body now. And these particles can get past the blood-brain barrier. So it's beyond important. Put on the full armor of God. Another way of saying it is train the mind so that the body obeys, because the internet of bodies is coming. It's already here. People are already emitting signals. And what are signals good for? Well, if you're using electromagnetic waves, G5, G6 towers, G7, which is in the very near future, Skylink launching 4 billion satellites every other day. We are in a field. Consciousness is a field, like a bandwidth. As above, so below. We live in a dualistic realm. So everything mirrors everything else. So if you're serving a pretender, it's a Pied Piper that will lead you astray. The world is quantum. It's proven. It's holographic. It's an energy hologram, basically made up of magnetism and electricity. And these two things work together. The heart magnetizes or repulses depending on how you got your magnet set. And the mind puts electricity into it, bringing life, like Frankenstein. So we bring to life everything. That's the toroidal field, electromagnetic field. So these nanoparticles that they got all up in our Kool-Aid, that's what they're trying to take over. Everything is a mirror, as above, so below. So what better way to try to subvert the Most High than to put a satellite there as the middleman to completely encompass the earth in electromagnetic fields and fill your bodies full of particles and graphene, which is extremely reactive to electromagnetic fields. It's a superconductor. That's why when you put a magnet, the whole mess moves. It's in drinking water. I just read a paper, I believe it was France. They already have it in the drinking water. You shower with it, coming down on you, and even if it's not there, going in the groundwater when they spray the skies, you have it. You have it on your skin, you have it in your body, you have it in your brain. There's no getting around to it. They've done experiments where they shoot these electromagnetic weapons at random people and they just get them to literally act like robots. And they believe it's their idea. Ooh, I got hungry all of a sudden. Ooh, I'm really horny all of a sudden. Ooh, I'm angry. I'm going to take it out on somebody. We train the mind because our bodies will betray us. It's not just talking about life being fleeting and you're going to die and you're going to get old and decrepit and you won't be able to do the things that you used to do. It's on so many different levels. And it's arguably happening now. They are capable of putting ideas in your mind. And if you can't tell the difference between your voice in your head and a voice that was placed there artificially, you might do what these kids are doing nowadays and showing up places and doing horrible things because they're on a message board. Discord's being used quite a lot by the feds, right? Allegedly. And grooming is super easy when you don't have any sense of self, when all you've been taught is learned helplessness, and you've learned to abdicate your agency to somebody in authority. Not the Most High, but a pretender. And when you don't use your discernment to be like, wait, this voice that just appeared in my head that told me that I'm hungry or horny or angry or whatever emotion, it's not mine. How do I know? Well, because of the hierarchical nature of my mind, I could backtrack what I was thinking about and look at the pattern and see that this came out of nowhere. And it's irrational. It doesn't even fit in the structure, in the hierarchical structure. And if it's a disembodied voice, and when I say that, I don't mean like you necessarily hear it like you've got headphones on. It can just be an emotion that you suddenly feel, and you feel compelled to do something, like hunger, right? Eat a Snickers. I'm not being myself. We've already got all the social programming teaching us our triggers and our cues, what the proper response to those things are. We've already been groomed since we've been born, and who we should listen to and who we shouldn't listen to. It's out here, of course. Don't know yourself. Learn helplessness. Abdicate your agency to an authority figure that's a pretender, because they know better. They're not going to lead you astray. They're not a Pied Piper. How do you know the difference between a voice, the disembodied voice that appeared as if from nowhere, that's not related to the patterns in your mind, and his voice? Resonance. Just like my finger knows, I don't think about doing this. I do it. It just resonates. It's correct. I don't have to convince my finger to do anything I ask it to do. Hey, listen, this is the right thing to do. You should really do this. You should really move like this. You should really itch your nose. Please, come on. I don't have to do that. I just do it, and it just does it because we're all part of the same thing. So that's how you discern. But you're not going to be able to tell the difference if you're not in here training your mind, because your body will betray you. And there's people and trillions of dollars that have been spent to make sure that that betrayal is uniformly occurring and that a hive mind is created where society can be controlled like bees. That's why so many Masons use the bee and the honeycomb, because that's a big part of the great works that they want. They want to format, mass formation, it's called. And in light of the thing that just occurred a few years ago when they're trying to do again, we see how easy it is to be formatted. and fall in line and do exactly what you're told to do. Go along to get along. Format means power. And that's all there is in this realm is power. Power. They want to be God. And you are part of it. You're part of the microcosm. And they want you to give that up. And they want you to abdicate your agency, your discernment. So just like computers, just like your phone, when you've got too much crap on it. I don't have time to do this. I just need this to work. So what do? You put it in the cloud. You look at it later. Just put it in the cloud. Okay, you clear up a bunch of space, right? Clean out your cookies and everything, which would be, if we're drawing parallels, the cloud would be God. And cleaning out your cookies would be therapy, right? As above, so below. They're imitating so that you stop being built in his image and you're built in their image. It's all there is. Mirrors, mirrors everywhere. So you can be in the cloud, the electromagnetic field, Skylink, the Internet of Bodies, with their Freudian mind control. If you haven't seen my video on Freud, please go watch it. He's a fraud, he's an occultist, and he's had society rehearsing trauma. And then when you can't take it anymore and you're not getting any better, they medicate you to numb you. And pharmakia, distance from the Most High. Get you away from the source. And it's not that there's nothing good about what Freud did, but it's the 10th lie. It's also known as a limited hangout. Doesn't mean your psychiatrist is a bad person. They're just following what they were told, just like the people that gave people shots. A lot of them, they're not bad people. They just did what they were told because they were following a pretender, a hierarchical structure that led them astray. So a Freudian therapist can give you all kinds of good tools. But the ultimate goal, since they're following a pretender, 9 truths that resonated with you. Now the 10th is a lie. It's a Pied Piper, a pretender to the throne. And it's got you looping back around to where your problems are never solved. So you have to store them in the cloud. And that's the macrocosm. Instead of the man in the cloud, your cloud is synthetic. It's an earthly cloud. You're giving it to them. You're supposed to give God your brokenness, all the stuff, all the garbage that you don't know what to do with, and give the world the best version of yourself. And instead, when it really comes down, if we're being honest, we feel like we got to do practical earthly things to really solve our problems, right? Because it's all good to go to church on Sunday, but when we really have a problem, do we really give it to him? No, we depend on the cloud. We depend on them, the earthly solutions. I wanted to finish this with a fantastic quote. Philippians 3:19. It says, "Their end is destruction, their God is their belly, and their glory is their shame, with their minds set on earthly things." Their end is destruction. If you're believing in this world and this material stuff, if you're like my friend who loves sex and excess and all this stuff and he doesn't want to serve, the irony is that it's not you who's not serving. Yeah, you're not serving, sure, but you're not allowing him to serve you. Christ came to serve and show you how to serve. Those who say they do not serve because they believe in this Luciferian idea of independence, again, the finger. Let me chop my finger off and see how good it is on its own without my body. And then myself, being the finger, I say I'm not going to serve. It's a two-way street. I'm denying service. I'm saying no. And now I'm all alone. Because I do not serve him. I do not serve you. And I'm completely cut off. And all I have is the physical stuff. Fleeting sex, fleeting health, fleeting joy of the belly, right? Appetites. Everything is an appetite. All the senses are an appetite that become the 7 sins. Gluttony, wrath, right? These are all fires that if you feed, they grow bigger. The end is destruction. You're assured. So if you're not trying to develop your soul, which is a mirror of the spirit, which is a mirror of God, right? And it's a diminishing return. It's a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. A lot of people will argue with me about the Trinity, etc. I don't want to get into all that. Let's just use this as an exercise. Let's just say what I'm saying is true right now. By the time you get to the body, it's a degraded copy of a copy of a copy. When you copy a copy, it becomes less and less and less and less accurate. You're going to act like this is the throne? It's a pretender. And if you don't want to immortalize your soul, allow the spirit in so that you can serve and be of service. It's not independence. That's loneliness, absolutely 100% destruction in the abyss. Because that's not the purpose. That's taking that electromagnetic field and shrinking it until it blips out of existence. Because that's not the way we're formatted. That's not what we're for. And that's not how we optimally function. If we don't believe in God, if we don't want to believe in God, again, if we're looking at the NLP model, neuro-linguistic programming, it still doesn't serve you. You at least should act as if. Because that's the structure. That's the format of the universe. That's the optimum way of functioning in the universe. And I promise you, if you just act as if, the belief will come. And it will become a reality, and it'll become knowingness. Because that's what I did. I studied self-help. And it's inevitable, because you start seeing synchronicities and you start seeing him at work. Just acting as if. And you can sit there and you can say, no, that's not what's happening. But it is. And you see it more and more clearly. Because the more you walk that narrow, the more it becomes self-evident. To the point where it's statistically impossible for the things that are happening in your life to happen. Their God is in their belly. Their glory is their shame. Can you think of anything that's going on like that right now? Their glory is their shame? Like it's something special? I wonder. Their minds are set on earthly things, which are fleeting. You are assuring your own destruction. If you want to be immortal, you understand that just like when you're playing any video game, which is formatted as well to adhere to certain parameters, you're not Mario. If you convince yourself that you're Mario, then you'll probably lose touch. Like a lot of these people that think their shame is their glory. You're not the avatar, you're not the body. But you're still responsible for the body and what it does. And if you don't run it, somebody else will. If you don't go to the correct cloud, you're going to be in the digital cloud. Because you're already half cyborg. I know that sounds dramatic and that sounds like nonsense, but it's not. You're full of nanotech right now. And if you can't remember something, you look on your phone. I used to write, and I would try to remember a word that I wanted to use for 2-3 days until it finally came to me after torturing myself. Now I just look it up. Ask ChatGPT or Grok or whatever AI. So I'm already trained not to use my mind. This is all that's happening. Train the mind, because the body will betray you. And now the powers that be are doing everything they can to make you into an automaton. A worker bee that has no discernment, that is completely bought into learned helplessness, that abdicates their agency because they're following the Pied Piper, the pretender that they place in the throne. God bless.